All right.
If you can minimize that.
Yes. Okay, all good. Welcome people online and people in person. I'm Anna Croyle. I'm the Data Visualization and Reporting Specialist, and I'm going to introduce the Institutional Research and Assessment Dashboards. So some of you may be familiar with institutional research and the fact books. Basically, it's all that institutional data, graduation rates, retention programs, everything, and transforming that into usable information by different groups. So today's workshop is an introduction to those dashboards. So I'll be talking about where you can actually find them, what you can do with them, and how you can share that data. So there will be some time where I'll walk through it, and there will be some time for exploration. So it looks like everyone has a device here or online, so we're good for that. So a little bit of background. This does represent the evolution from those fact books. And it's a way of really placing the data in the hands of the people who are going to use it. And because they're interactive dashboards, there's a lot more of an intersectional lens we can look at it with. We can aggregate, disaggregate as needed, really help support those equity outcomes. So the way we're kind of balancing privacy and being able to actually access it is the dashboard links are found in a Google Doc that you need to be logged into. So it's not private data, but it is like a little contained within the campus community. So if you're logged in, you can view it. So I'm gonna do a little bit of a walkthrough, show you how I go from finding it, how I might explore it, and the kind of questions I can find. And after I do that walkthrough, you'll get to explore yourself. Okay. So I'll start just from the beginning of how I would go into institutional data, institutional research, SUNY Oswego, right from the beginning. So this is data, right? We're interested in the data. So we can see it summarizes the dashboards and provides links to all the different ones. So there's some related to the fact book and some related to current academic operations, information on feedback. So this is always a good place to go back to. It's always going to be updated. So this is the document. Any of these links just link to that same document. So this is kind of the central hub of that. So I am logged in so I can access it. And this list provides a summary of what each dashboard provides and the actual links to those Tableau dashboards. So let's say we want to explore some fast facts about SUNY Oswego's enrollment. So I could click on that link and it would take me into Tableau. I'll just go, I often go full screen if I'm exploring. It's just a little bit easier to get a full view. Okay, so I'm going to point out a few common features on this dashboard. So all dashboards have filters. You should be able to filter between data you're interested in. Maybe we just want to see undergrads. Maybe we care about fall 2021. You should be able to hover over anything on the dashboard to see additional information. And we call those tooltips. I'll try to introduce some of the vocabulary I use so it's a little more familiar as I go through it. And scroll down and continue to explore. We can see, how many awards were granted in the 2020-2021 academic year. All right, so that's one dashboard. Let's say we want more detail about graduation rates or graduates. You can click on that, explore it further. And as you're messing with the dashboards, let's say you can filter, you can navigate between different sheets, but you can't break anything. So don't worry about that. If it's looking at how you want it to, you can always refresh. And the dashboards typically have a navigation at the top to go between different overall aspects of graduates, for example. Okay, so that was my quick walkthrough. Any questions at this point? I'll open up the chat as well. Looks like we're good online. Feel free to unmute yourselves. Good in person. Okay. So we did our walkthrough. So now I'd like to give you guys a little time to answer a sample data question for how many undergraduate and graduate students were enrolled here in fall 2022. And this information should be available in a number of dashboards because we look at different aspects of it. And as you're doing, kind of explore the available data there. So I'll give us like 3 minutes because that's a short question. And then we'll meet back with our findings. Okay, how are we feeling online? I think we're good in person. Chat says good. All right. Okay, so any feedback on that process? Was it weird seeing the dashboards, confusing? Was it not where you expected? Mm-hmm. Right, right. Good instincts. Okay. So little gentle introduction to what those dashboards are. And this is a kind of a pilot stage of it. So any feedback I get, good or like what doesn't work, is really helpful for shaping the future of this. Okay. So now that you kind of got your introduction, I'd like you to take 10 minutes to kind of just explore what's out there, what's the available dashboards, pick one and explore it more in depth. And at the end of that 10 minutes, I'd like us to come back and kind of discuss the data observations or dashboard thoughts you had. So let's say at 1:20, we'll check back in. And of course, you can add questions in the chat, unmute yourselves, and I'll be walking around here with any questions. Okay, so about a minute left. So kind of wrap up the dashboard you're looking at and think about what was interesting, what worked, what didn't, something you'd like to share.
I appreciate that this information is readily available. It's no longer having to emails asked. There's a ton of information here, obviously. I'm excited to kind of be able to play a little bit more with it, to learn more. I do have a concern about gender and how are you, what is the data saying about those who don't identify as either male or female?
Right.
How are we capturing their experience? Because everything is in their experience.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if those online can hear. The question was about how does the data capture or not capture students who fall outside of that F and M? Yes, for both. So just recently, SUNY is now having gender X for all the applicants. And it should be, I believe, for faculty as well. So the next set will include that gender X option. And it will be shown on the data. And that is one of the downside of data like this, that it shows big pictures. It doesn't show the smaller experiences of students who don't fit inside those boxes. So, but great question. Thank you, Michelle. All right, and I'm gonna try to look at faces here. Any other thoughts in person, online? Which dashboard did you explore? Yes, please share, Liz.
I was actually exploring the economics major dashboard because why wouldn't I, right? So that was, it's depressing. There's a jarring decline of majors that, exacerbated by COVID, it looks like. But like the interesting thing is we're actually relative to the general enrollment data of the 25% URM, we're actually overrepresented at 38%. And that the percent female at 33%, while it's underrepresented relative to enrollment here, that's actually consistent with the national norms. So undergraduate economics in the United States is about 30 to 35% women or female, self-identified female majors.
Right. It's interesting. Thank you. Yeah, you definitely have a different insight than I do into it, just looking at percentages. Okay, any other thoughts in person or online? Feel free to unmute yourselves or add to the chat.
Hi, this is Sharon from Grad Studies. I just took a look at the head counts by department as well, and I just find it just a wealth of information here. It's just fabulous. I'm really excited to realize that I have access to some of this stuff. And it's neat to see from year to year and within the program, the graduate studies, the graduate programs, and the breakdown of the demographics. It's interesting because as someone who works to recruit students, you can see that, the demographics, such as like the age for the average student coming into our online MBA versus some of our other programs is significantly different. So how you market toward those people and how you relate to people in different programs, to be able to see that breakdown is fabulous. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for the feedback. Any other thoughts from online? It looks like we have Jessica, Dan, and Tyrion. Oh, you're Jessica. That's your doppelganger.
I looked at health promotion and wellness data, my department also, but I was also looking at seeing our numbers, and again, it's kind of jarring. It's been something we've talked about in our department too, but it's some of the things that was interesting to me was just kind of looking at our online major, who's in our online major,
right?
Well, like gender and everything. So it's kind of good to see those numbers because we hear about them in our department. Actually being able to kind of touch the data and play with it ourselves. It's nice to see.
Right. And for those online, I'm not sure if you can hear Jessica, but seeing the decline, but also seeing the different types of not decline or numbers between the like online versus not program. And Terry, and I see your hand is raised.
Yes, I have two questions just out of curiosity. One, a little bit more specific. So I looked at a few of them. So the transfer yield under the demographics category, what is EFC?
That is expected family contribution.
Okay.
So, and that's a good question that needs a definition then, if there's not one there.
Yeah, and that connects to my second one too, because I do notice like that on some of them, like the abbreviation URM, underrepresented minority, unless you click in that section, otherwise you don't know what it means. So I don't know how, like notice on the website like you all have a glossary of terms, but I don't know if there's a way to, before you click onto this, if there's a way to add some of the key terms like what EFC is, what URM is, like link to a definition, because otherwise if a person doesn't click to it, what does it mean?
Providing the context. Yeah, that's a good point. Some of the dashboards have definitions if you like hover over like a little definition icon, but it's not as standardized as it should be, and that's a good idea to have sort of like an entry information packet or something. So thank you, Tarian. Yeah, especially for URM, that's one I see that people don't know what it means actually, that like, for example, Asian students are not included in URM. So good point. All right, thank you for the thoughts and feedback and explorations, everyone. I'm going to make you small. There we go. So to summarize the key resources and contacts, you can find all the dashboards, all the updated links on the institutional data page. To give me feedback or ask questions or say, you know what would be really helpful, a dashboard on this thing. You can email me directly or use the dashboard feedback form. And this is a handout basically summarizing the information we talked about today. If you want something to refer to, I'll also put that link in the chat so that people online can view it easily. So a little takeaway, just so you can refer back to it if you need to. All right, and that was a pretty short workshop, but it is in essence a workshop. So if you have extra time to stick around, please play around with the dashboards. This is a good time for me and for you to see, to get like hands-on feedback and for me to get feedback from you all. So thank you for your time. I appreciate your thoughts and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Some chat.
I see. Accolades.
You can stop the recording.
Yep.
3 dots, I think.
Uh,
And then